Could the problems with Java be solved by a better definition of the interface between Mozilla and the various VM implementations? I mean, the fact that each VM drags their own things in to get their job done shouldn't impact what you do. Is it kind of the graphic context and focus problems that you're having?
There's certainly that, but we don't have a different interface for each VM. We have a set of interfaces that may be poorly documented or not. People have managed to plug Java VMs into Mozilla and do usual Java things, mainly applets, which aren't that common on the web compared to other web standards. So there just hasn't been this feedback cycle between Java and the rest of the code base that has pulled it into implementing more critical features. Like for instance, say we wanted to do something like X forms, which is probably not going to be widely used on the web, but may be important on intranets. It'd be great to use Java to do that. You could use Xerxes J. You could, for the schema validation, you would not be stubbing your toe or losing a finger on C++, poking yourself in the eye. But which VM do you use, and how do you get it integrated with our DOM? Until this bridge in Austin was built for Eclipse, or is being built, really, it's not done yet, we didn't have an answer for any of those questions. Sun early on had tried to make Java bindings for the Mozilla DOM, for instance. Got canceled, software group moved to China. So, it's not, there's no necessary reason why Java's not there. It's just a lot of, I think, marketing problems and political problems.
But if Java was truly open source, you guys probably would have finished the work.
Absolutely, or some volunteers would have. There would have been people just all over it, which is what's happening with Mono, I think.
Right.
My assumption would have been that the problem with the open source Java implementations is the class liability every place. So even with IKVM on Mono, you have the same issue.
So the class path project has to.
Yeah.
Well,
or the libraries and the VM are included in the definition of Java being open source.
Right.
Right. It's quite simple.
No,
I'm digressing of politics for a second. I think if anything happens short term, the JDK libraries will be open source according to some tolerable license. That the politics seem to be pointing to that as something that will happen soon, and that will be good. If I had to bet money, I'd bet a nickel that a year from now that will happen.
Wow.
Best spender.
And if you had to bet your
Right. The rest of it's intractable. All the IP that doesn't even belong to the various vendors for underlying the VMs is very hard for them to deal with. The Java code is not hard for them to deal with, and my take on my reading of the tea leaves, being on the executive committee of JCP, is that it's ready for that to happen. Sun is just going to say, we're tired of dealing with it, we're going to do it. It would be a nice thing.
It would be nice. I don't think it will turn things around for Java and Mozilla.
Are you saying it's too late, or is it just?
I'm saying just getting the classes open source is not enough. It's really the integration of the VM and the ability to turn
There are
around
open
things.
source VMs, but I think,
Which one would you recommend?
well, I'm biased. I'd obviously go for the Eich one.
Yeah, but Mark, that's a long way from.
Is it?
That's what I'm told. I didn't want to say it. Thank you.
I mean, we'll execute things. We have no verifier, right? I mean, they can't possibly have a VM without a verifier. I mean, I think it's more than halfway, but it's not an industrial strength.
The libraries going open would
Right.
have effects on other places. Their verifiers written for Java.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if the libraries are open, something would happen, because VMs aren't that hard to write.
It
But,
changes a lot of things.
yeah. But it's not a library's open, Jake's VM is ready tomorrow, silliness.
You mentioned it, but you wouldn't use Mono because of patents or patent fields. But you have also the same issue with Java.
Indeed.
Even if it's open source, you have no waiver for patents.
Okay, you caught me. I mean, if Java were open source, then I'd have to be worried about patents there too. You're right. But since it's not open source, I can use that as an excuse not to use Java. Patents are a real problem. And, you know, if you're a big company and you have a big portfolio and a bunch of lawyers, you can come to some Mexican standoff with your competitors. If you're doing open source and you have lots of downstream redistributors and you yourself are small, it's not a good situation. So right now, you know, no one's going to sue Mozilla over my JavaScript VM, but they might stop supporting us. Some of our corporate partners might walk away if we were actually to depend on Mono directly. If we just used sort of the virtual execution system part of Mono and hid the fact that it was Mono and didn't let you know, load assemblies, maybe that would be okay. We haven't really tried that on. I think the bridging approach is going to be where we try to test the waters and see how well we do, and we'll end up with a somewhat bloated federated system, and we'll be chasing memory problems till the cows come home. But that's the way I see it. I don't see a way around it in the short term. And it's too bad because technically there's certainly no obstacle.
Okay. Thanks, speaker.